All right. The time is now 7:01 p.m. on the 14th of January. We'll kick off the Montoursville Area School District Board of Directors meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Albert,
Here.
Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower is absent this evening.
Here,
Oh, you're online.
He's online,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I
can you
didn't.
hear me?
Yes.
Oh, we can hear you.
Mr. Gardner,
Here.
Mr. Hausnick,
Here.
Miss McCoy,
Here.
Mrs. Meyer,
Here.
Mrs. Oberheim,
Here.
and Mr. Young is absent.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll kick things off tonight with recognitions and presentations. We have two. We'll start with Mrs. Albert and the Homeless Hopes Toy Drive.
There you go. All right, hold on a second. Okay, we had a group of girls, they called themselves Homeless Hopes, and they did a toy drive. I'm gonna let them know, talk about what they did.
I would just like to start by thanking Mr. Myers, Mrs. Albert, and Mr. Blaze. Without you guys, it would have been practically impossible to start Homeless Hopes and then keep it running. And last year we were able to raise about $325-ish off of blow pops. This year we collected toys for children in need who are less fortunate than us. This year we do want to do like a lot more. We're thinking of like volunteering at like homeless shelters, things like that, retiree homes, but we definitely are looking forward to doing that, and we would be like very happy for you guys to keep working with us.
At a young age, my grand Linda instilled the importance of giving back to my community, whether it was dropping money into the pot or helping hand out meals to people less fortunate. I'm so proud to be a part of Homeless Hopes. I truly believe if we touched the kids' lives and gave them a better Christmas, it was all worth it. All of us adults and children alone have a responsibility to help our community members that are less fortunate than us.
As you can see, their pictures up here on the screen. When they collected and donated to America.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Before, could we have your names, please? Step up to the mic and names and grade, and thank you.
I'm Adelina Yoder, and I'm in 5th grade.
Vera Jane Watts. We're all in 5th grade.
I'm Olivia.
Hamilton.
Horn.
I'm Greenlee Fry.
I'm Elizabeth East.
Two other girls that could have been here tonight. Marcella, you can go ahead and announce that. You got it.
Marcella Gonzalez and Keely Diamond.
Thank you, girls. Give our future hope for a future, right? All right, nice job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank parents and grandparents that brought the students here. We're very blessed to have great families and great kids. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, ladies. Very proud of you. That's fantastic. Nice job. All right, next up, we have Mr. Ken Phillips and Mrs. Lauren Stadel from Raymond James Public Finance.
Not quite sure how you follow that.
You can't.
No, you can't, especially with, what Lauren and I deal with. I'm Ken Phillips, Lauren Stadel. We've had the pleasure of representing Montoursville for 35+ years on your financial needs. The district has never borrowed money frivolously, you study things, and we've been working with you know, the administration and in the last 2+ years, just getting ready to, you know, take a look at maybe some things you have coming down the road. And so tonight we're here to discuss that with you, to show you some illustrations. And then depending on the course of action by the board, sometime then in spring, summer, if the decision is to proceed with projects, that we would be back then with the legal team and do all the appropriate resolutions and so on. But again, it's an honor for us to be here and have had the long relationship with the school district. We have a very short handout tonight. The next page, we have hard copy in front of you and up on the screen. It's easier on the hard copy because the numbers get pretty tough up there. This is the indebtedness of the school district. Again, I'll go back to, you know, 30+ years and the district has never had significant debt because, you know, you borrow money when you need to do it for projects after careful study. You can see we have a 2016 issue, a 2019 and 20, which obviously a lot of it was involved in this project that we're standing in this evening. It's very important to note, especially when we look at the next page, when you see the bottom of the summary pages here, average coupon, that's the average rate on your debt. 3.27, 2.56, 2.37. Rates are higher than they were when we did these issues. So we always have enjoyed refinancing opportunities in the past, just like refunding a mortgage. Okay, same principle, higher rate to lower rate. We haven't had the opportunity on these, even though we have legally we could, but the savings aren't there because the rates are so low, which is a good thing. When you look at the left-hand side of this column, it is the gross indebtedness. The gross indebtedness means that it's before any type of state reimbursement. The state does assist you in making some payments to the tune of about 8 cents on the dollar on the debt, because it's a older debt, and even though there's no reimbursement from the state on new debt, you still have some grandfathered debt out there. So on the right-hand side, your net debt's about 3.1 million if you just want to round up. So the next slide is just a history since 2000 of where rates are. And you heard us say that, okay, in 2016, if you just look at the bottom and see 2016, rates were sort of at all-time lows back then. And then in 19 and 20, they hit again all-time lows because of, you know, COVID and the recession and so on. So we've been able to take advantage of those and thus the low interest rate on your debt, which is wonderful. So I'm going to let Lauren talk about the last slide in here and what school districts really need to focus on under Act 1 and how we may consider doing something going forward if the decision is to proceed. Right there.
Good evening, everybody. So there's a lot of really tiny, big numbers on this page. So I'll kind of walk through first the mechanics of what it all means, and then we can talk about kind of the theory behind it. So column number 1 is a summary of what Ken just reviewed, which is your existing net debt, which we kind of view as your actual cost of the existing bonds that you have outstanding. Column number 2 is then when we talk about layering in additional debt for projects. And you'll see that, you know, unlike a home mortgage where you pay the same thing every month, which means you pay basically the same amount every year for the life of the mortgage, we have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to how we structure the debt of a school district. And that's very important in a post-Act 1 era where we want to be as sensitive as possible to your budget, because you have a lot of other budgetary pressures that you're forced to face within your Act 1 index. And so we try to mitigate any additional debt and how it's going to impact your budget as best we can. And the way that that's done is in a wraparound fashion. And so what that means is basically, in essence, you're paying mostly interest only up until the point where your existing debt is retired. And so in essence, we are wrapping the new principal around the existing debt that you have. And that's why you can see that for the first 10 years or so of the amortization for the proposed 2025 bonds, you're paying a smaller amount, which is mostly interest. And then at that point in time, once the old dollars have then been freed up, now there's room in your budget to layer in the additional principal. So we're in essence creating overall level debt service and trying to minimize the impact to your budget. If we were to solve this as a 15, 20-year level debt mortgage, in essence, it would impact your budget much more greatly, probably $1.5 million a year versus the $730,000 that you're seeing here. I'll come back to column number 3 in a moment. So we've taken column number 1, we've added in a hypothetical $15 million borrowing in column number 2. And I'll point to the bottom of the page real quick to the footnotes. The green highlighted footnote goes with column number 2. We're assuming getting the money later this year. We probably won't be in a place to be settling a bond issue come May 1st of 2025. That'll probably look more like June or July, but we could be if you so chose to move forward more quickly than maybe what we intended. Then we take current interest rates and we add about 20 basis points. We had a little bit more contingency built into this study 2 or 3 months ago when we met with the administration, but interest rates, as Ken reviewed, have been marching slightly upward in the borrowing side of the house for the last couple months. So some of that interest rate contingency has disappeared, but we still have nearly 1/4 percentage point built in. And so we think we're in a comfortable position that if we do act within the next few months, we should be relatively close to the interest rates we're showing you here this evening. And we also assume, as Ken said, no state reimbursement. If, as you see in that footnote, we do not assume that the state, any Plan Con dollars will be available for these new projects. And that's how we encourage all of our school district clients to budget new projects. So column number 4 then would become, after layering in that new $15 million issue, what you'd be paying on an annual basis. And because of very good planning and fiscal management over the last few years, column numbers 5 and 6 are showing the same thing, but it depends on, do you like to talk about budget dollars or do you like to talk about it in mils? And because of the favorable results and the strong financial planning that this board and this administration have put in place, you were able to put aside an additional $233,000 for debt service beginning in fiscal year 24-25. And that goes a very long way in making the impact of a borrowing like this mitigated, because based on the project that you're looking to implement, you're going to have fairly significant operational savings from the consolidation. And so assuming that the project proceeds on the timeline that you've been shown, we assume that there's approximately $415,000 of annual operational savings that could be realized. And in this scenario, we're using that operational savings to fund the debt service. And so in essence, a very minimal additional mills of about $50,000 would be necessary to fully fund the $15 million borrowing. Now, because that operational savings doesn't start until the building is built and the consolidation has happened, we do need to come up with a little bit of cash out of our pocket to pay the debt service over the next few years until those operational savings dollars are actually realized in your budget. And that's where column 3 comes in. So because we still need to pay the debt service, but we haven't put all the mills in place in the budget for debt, we need to come out of pocket approximately $1 million over that 3-year period. Those are one-time dollars, those are not recurring. So that comes most likely out of capital reserve or interest earnings on the bonds, to the extent that there are any, from the time that you would borrow the money up until the time it would be spent paying contractors. And so it's a very good position to be in. Not many districts can borrow money to this magnitude and not really have to come up with too much out of their budget to come to the taxpayers and need to raise taxes for it. So this is a very enviable position to be in, and we applaud this board and prior boards for, as Ken said, borrowing really only when you need to and really studying projects fully in order to keep the impact to your taxpayers as low as possible. So we've spouted a lot of facts to you this evening. Happy to take any questions that you may have. So we'll pause there before we talk a little bit more about what next steps might look like. Any questions, anyone we can help with?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. That 0.06 that is on this paper and that $50,000 that represents, as an admin team, we will find that we are not going to raise taxes.
And more than likely, I mean, with the interest rate contingency we have built in, you probably won't need it. But that's a good point, Mr. T.
Thanks.
And when, to add to that, when we initially looked at this, we were looking at 14 million. So
Yep.
that wasn't there initially.
That's
So-
correct.
Any other questions?
So we'll continue to be in touch with your administrative team over the next few months. And as plans continue to take shape, if we do decide to proceed, you will likely see one or both of us back here at a meeting, most likely late spring, early summer, to enact the parameters resolution. And just to give you a quick entree into that, that is a document that will be, it's because you are subject to the local government unit debt act. All debt proceedings have to be kind of formalized in this fashion. And so the resolution will set forth maximum principal and interest rates. So more than likely, you're going to see a resolution that reads a borrowing not to exceed probably $18 million. We know we're not borrowing that much, but we need to give ourselves the most flexibility possible in the structuring. And what that means is when we get to pricing day, when we are actually locking in your interest rates for your bonds, the financing team needs a little bit of flexibility to be able to move bonds maybe from one year to another, or, you know, take a different coupon order versus a premium or a discount. I know I'm spouting a lot of jargon here, but having a slightly inflated number in that max parameters resolution gives us the ultimate flexibility. Once rates are locked in and we've borrowed the 15 million, 14 and a half, whatever the final number is that admin directs us to get into your project fund, we will come back then with an executed addendum to that bond purchase agreement and to that resolution that sets forth those maximums and shows that, you know, in essence, we only borrowed exactly what you wanted. And then anything that's left over from that authorization in excess of the 15 million or whatever the number is would then be wiped from the books at the Department of Community and Economic Development. So it's really a tool, it's a filing mechanism that we need to follow. So don't be surprised when we come back in the spring or summer and you see that higher number, but know that we will only borrow exactly what you need for your projects. Great.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Safe travel back.
All right, now we'll move on to the student
Tom, I have a
representative.
question.
Oh.
Is anyone here gonna talk?
What?
Is anyone here gonna talk about the achievements for the FBLA? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure because
Yeah,
they
that's,
were present.
yeah, that's all good.
I have a few slides on, we all know, I'm sure everyone's familiar, we have plenty of sports teams, but there are 3 academic clubs that bring a lot more accolades into the school that not many people realize. Just thinking back when I was in 8th grade, I didn't know a single one of these existed. And I don't think many kids do outside of the high school itself. So we have 3 academic clubs starting off. They all had things this first week of January. Starting off with mock trial. Mock trial team participated in the University of Pittsburgh Cathedral Classic, 52 teams from across the state. And it's essentially an opening scrimmage for the case that they will be performing and arguing over the next 2 months. Our team's first case, or trial is this Friday. In fact, they are upstairs in the flex space practicing for it right now. Last year, we placed first in it, which we have never done before. This year, we did place 10th, and I would like to know Carly McKenna got outstanding attorney, which means she scored got best attorney in every trial she was in and achieved the maximum 20 ranks needed to.
Wow, very good.
Then there was the FBLA conference. We are part of Region 7, which is the largest region in Pennsylvania. It is us, 14 other schools, so like Loyalsock, Jersey Shore, Muncie, Hughesville, Williamsport, South Williamsport, a bunch of schools in our region. FBLA is a bunch of business, economics, math center things that also prepare you for your skills later in life if you go into business. And even if you don't, there are a ton of public speaking events that people do that just prepare you better in life. At the conference, we had 33 members qualify for the state conference, 9 of which got first place. This is the list and positions and events of all members that qualified for states. Since we are the biggest region, they did expand it
The first column is objective testing, which is a 100-question test you take beforehand. I think we took it back in December. And it's on the, the categories up there: accounting, agribusiness, business communications, financial math, healthcare administration, UX design, supply chain management, all of these things, which are real life skills. And then on the second column are the actual presentations. There was a public speaking that Sienna Twig placed second in. The Jimmy, Messina, Schultz, and Andrew Truman were all on a team for sales presentation, and they placed first, which is now the second year in a row they have done so. Those three also, along with Andrew Zhu, who got first in financial math last year, qualified for the national conference down in Orlando. This year, I've spoken with all of them personally. They are adamant on getting to the national level conference again, which is in Anaheim this year. Carly McKenna and Brady Cohen also placed. We had the top two presentations for sales presentation. And then I would like to point out everyone who got first. Mason Barrow got first in accounting 1, which is by far the hardest test at FBLA. Andrew Zhu got first in financial math. Paige Boyle got first in healthcare administration. Rebecca Taylor got first in intro to FBLA. Ellie Merlin got first in organizational leadership, and I got first in UX design. After this, we have academic decathlon, which had a scrimmage. I believe it was Thursday of last week. And they used to have a tradition where they would wear their medals to school each day. So you can hear them coming down the hall. Our academic decathlon team has done better than any other academic club, and sometimes better than some of our actual sporting teams. They make it to nationals each year consistently. They haven't actually gone because it always interferes with our prom, coincidentally. But this year, at their first scrimmage, Addison Converse took home a silvers in math in the honors category. In the scholastic category, Naomi Ziegler took home a bronze in music, a silver in math, a bronze in economics, a bronze in science, and bronze for overall score. And then in the varsity, Reese Pearson took home a gold in math, gold in economics, silver in science, and gold for overall score, which means he had the top score out of any other participant there. Noah Smith took home a bronze in music and a silver in math. Nick Ebach a bronze in science, and Wesley Foster a gold in math. And I just wanted to bring this up because these three clubs bring in so many accolades each year, and I never think they get the just notoriety that they deserve, because it's truly impressive that out of, I believe, we had 42 people participate in FBLA this year, 33 of them qualified for the state conference in Hershey. That's all I have for tonight.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was outstanding. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. All right, now we will move on to the reading of the minutes. This is approval of the regular meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024. Take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. We have no prior presentations for the evening, so we'll move to the public comment section of the agenda. Again, this is for residents and taxpayers who may comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberating before the board. Members of the public will receive one unpaused 3-minute time frame to do so.
Good evening. I'm Haley Weaver, and I'm in 8th grade, former student of C. McCall Middle School. Since being in student council for almost 4 years, I have volunteered about 500 hours. I'm a straight A student. I've juggled advanced classes, sports, and electives. I've been very committed to my education. I recently switched to CCA, something I've wanted to do for many different reasons, but the biggest one being bullying from staff to students. I've had a problem with this since I was in 6th grade. First, it was my math teacher that ignored me until I was having anxiety attacks from not knowing what to do. My 7th grade science teacher that would give me zeros for work that was completed and handed in, forcing me to prove the work was done. This list goes on, but 3 minutes isn't enough time to share all those experiences with you. These two examples were the ones that caused the most anxiety and disruption for me. I went to the counselor and the vice principal many times. Nothing changes for the positive. At the end of the day, it's a teacher's word against a student, so you can assume who wasn't taken seriously, me. Recently, my dad emailed the superintendent about yonder phone pouches. Instead of a good conversation coming from it, the superintendent ended up emailing the owner of the company my dad worked for. I don't think there was good intentions behind that. Thankfully, my dad still has a job. Worrying about my father's employment was a pretty big distraction, as you can imagine. Retaliation from teacher to student or superintendent to parent is wrong and should be priority to correct. When I get out of bed in the morning to come to school, I should not feel a load of anxiety as soon as I wake up. My current education consists of learning how to deal with snarky teachers, not being heard when I bring up problems to the proper people, and being threatened with consequences if I don't comply. My phone hasn't been a distraction until these phone pouches came along. The distraction is teachers bashing parents in class. I had a vocab quiz that was saying how parents are not very tactful about these phone pouches. If students are held to these expectations, then teachers should too. It's not fair to be sitting in class and us not allowed to have our phones during appropriate times, but teachers sitting on them the whole period. Teachers are there to help me. As soon as these pouches became a thing, it's all our teachers spoke to us about. The day we got these, students only focused on how they could break them and avoid using them. It's a safety hazard on so many levels. So if the school board really cares about my education, changes need to be made, communication needs to happen. Please educate yourself on the actual distractions that are happening within my old school, so you can make changes that are actually going to help the students with real problems, that follow the rules, and that lend a hand whenever help is needed. Those are the students that fall through the cracks. I was that student, and I'm just done with it. Before I sit down, I need to make one thing clear. Me being up here tonight was not influenced by my parents. They have secondhand knowledge, but I have firsthand experience. I decided to talk tonight because I wanted to share what's actually happening within the school and how it's affected me. Change never came, so I took it into my own hands and made a change, with my parents' support, of course. Please make decisions that are going to benefit students that don't have the luxury to choose different education. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Julia Mathies, and I would like to speak on the phone ban. I am in no way trying to cause any more trouble for you because I'm sure you've all heard enough from hundreds of students and parents. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I'm an older sibling. In an email we've all recently received, it is said that the students in the middle school are unable to carry their phone pouches with them due to them already carrying enough. Respectfully, if you are that worried about how much they're carrying, let them take their book bags to class. A majority of school shootings in the past 2 years have been caused by high school students compared to middle school students. But that doesn't eliminate the fact that there still have been middle school shootings. I remember what it was like carrying things to and from during school, having to interrupt class because someone forgot something in their locker, being late to class because someone dropped their things in the hallway or spent too much time searching for what they needed. It is both inconvenient and distracting. We were concerned about the distractions caused by devices, but not as concerned about all the other distractions caused by the policies you've implemented on these children. My biggest concern is in the case of an emergency. Since the year 1999, 338,000 students have experienced gun violence in their school. If you were to say that there are around 500 students in each one, that would be around 670 schools. In just 2024, there have been over 200 school shootings. My sisters are the most important people in my life, the people I would do absolutely anything for. I will not be told that my sister is expected to have no way of calling me or texting me one last time. My question for you is, if you were in an active threat situation after having gotten into a fight with your loved one that morning, would you want to tell them you love them just in case? By having them keep their devices out from their immediate reach, you are ridding them of that opportunity. I understand they are not able to use their phones during school hours, but at least having the reassurance that she has it with her and can cut it open in a case like that would make me, and I'm sure all others related to those in the middle school, feel better. If it meant I could have one more conversation with my sister, I would gladly pay that fine, along with all the other fines of the children who would do the same thing in that situation. No amount of money could compare to their lives. Thank you.
Good evening. How many of you have a phone on you right now? Assuming a lot of you. And who do you call in case of an emergency? 911, thank you. What I didn't hear was my 9th grade math teacher. My name is Emily Gladu. I am a student at Montoursville High School. I believe I can speak for everyone when I say I respect and appreciate what the teachers and principals do. But what happens when they don't respect you? Students are afraid of our vice principal. They feel targeted and scared to speak up and trapped, and it's not hard to see why. I decided I needed to go home early to take a mental health day. I was in second period right where I was supposed to be waiting. It takes 20 minutes for my mom to get to the school. It had been 40. Luckily, I had my phone to check. I'd received 20 messages from my mother asking if I'm alive and if I'm okay. I reported this to my teacher and was reprimanded for having my phone. I went down to the office to hear that Miss Wise had not bothered to check where I was. Instead, she searched the bathrooms first. She did not call me until I texted my mom back. I was not in danger. However, imagine if I was. Miss Wise told me that she doesn't know the schedule and didn't think I would be where I was supposed to be. Later the next day, she released very personal information about a student to cover up the reason for her mistake. Do you want a vice principal who doesn't know the daily schedule and targets the students? If I didn't have my phone, I would have been missing for hours, leaving my mom and my family in a dazed panic. My mother is considering taking me out of the school district altogether because of this. I do not deserve to be separated from my close friends because of the tyrannical and targeted rule of the vice principal. The pouches are only good if the school knows how to run with them, and they have proven multiple times that they don't. Thank you.
Hello. I would also like to speak to the phone pouches as well as another issue, which I had emailed Mr. Badger about. The first issue is the backpacks.
Sorry, your name.
Oh, Tanya Schaeffer, South Montour Street.
Thank you.
The first issue is backpacks at the middle school. Not only is this an issue with the phones that have to stay in the lockers as opposed to on the students in their backpacks. I have a child that has been we won't say disciplined because it never escalated to the level of disciplined because he's a special needs student. However, he's been late to class several times because it takes him longer than the average kid to get to his locker and get his things out due to a lack of organization. Something he's working on. His teachers are aware. However, this brings up to light, it is causing anxiety for kids that have to run and carry their things and then worry about getting to their lockers in a timely fashion, as well as getting to their classes then next in time. So I would encourage the middle school to relook at that backpack policy. Just even if we're not going to allow if we're still going to allow the phones in the lockers, at the end of the day, we're still going to make the phones stay in the lockers. But just for those other reasons of why a student might need to carry a backpack in school as opposed to keeping it in their locker, I just would encourage you to maybe take a look at that. The second thing was, I did want to thank the board for opening up the ability of parents to email their children. However, I would like to point out that I emailed my son last week and I'm still waiting on a response from him. So while this may solve some of those issues, you know, it's only as good as the kids if they read the email. So we need to think of something else that allows parents to get in touch because, you know, in that instance, it wasn't an emergency, but it was something that he needed to be aware of quickly and he ended up missing the bus. So, you know, we do need to look at the email's great if the kids look at it. So it's not a fix all, but I do appreciate that the school board did take some of that input in from parents and try to do something. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Right, anyone else in the room before I go to Zoom?
Yeah. My name is Deon Weaver. I live on State Route 87 in Montoursville. I graduated Hughesville High School in 2007. When I was in that school, Hughesville was a joke. Montoursville was the place to be. It was the school to go to. It was the education to get. It was the cool people to hang out with. I worked incredibly hard to get myself to a point where I could buy a house in this district and give my kids that same education. Unfortunately, I've been left with no choice. 2 out of 3 of my children have been unenrolled and they are in CCA. Multiple things, some things my daughter touched on, some of the other people had brought up. We have a focus issue. I don't disagree with you guys one bit that cell phones are a distraction. I deal with it everywhere in my life, but how it went about it was wrong. Complete full-blown implementation. Really? My best friend's daughter, who's a straight A student, was suspended from school over her phone because she said she wouldn't put it in the pouch. How many students were suspended from school prior to the pouch implementation for not following the policy that was already in place? Why do we buy these pouches and we say, okay, boom, we're going to enforce something that should have been enforced from the get-go? It seems backwards to me. I also want to point out, my kid can't have this in their pocket, but if I put a wristband on it and put it on their wrist, it's okay. The smartwatches are just as capable as a cell phone. So what are we doing? It makes no sense. I think that if the pouches are going to stay implemented, great. I think the kids' education is super important. But have a plan. Put the magnets in every classroom. Let the kids have instructional time and time when they're allowed to have their phones. I can't even begin to tell you how many times both of my middle schoolers have told me they go into class, their test gets administered, teacher sits at her desk like this the whole time. What message are we sending to these kids? It doesn't make sense. We have a substitute issue. We can't get substitutes in our schools, so we funnel these kids into the auditorium now to do what? They don't have phones. So now it's going to be like a farm inside that auditorium, all while the substitute who's in charge of watching 4 classes is sitting there like this. It's wrong. I'm all for accountability, and I think these kids need to be accountable. And if you want my honest opinion, today's generation, there should be even more accountability because these kids are rough. But how we went about this was wrong. Forwarding my email to my employer was wrong. Consider yourself lucky I didn't lose my job. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Right, no one else in the room? All right, we'll go to Zoom. If you have a comment, please raise your hand and I will select you and turn your microphone on and you can make your comment. Right, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Right, so that will conclude the first public comment section of the evening, and we'll move on to the business manager's reports. Mrs. Smith.
Right. You've received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending December 31st, 2024 for the general fund and the cafeteria fund. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval. Motion to approve.
I need a second for that. All right, any questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Mr. Eisenhower?
Sorry, I was on mute. Aye.
All right, thank
you.
Go here.
You've received copies of the budgetary transfer for the general fund. We are submitting this to the board for informational purposes only. This evening, there is no approval needed. Then moving on to item 5.4, presentation of the bills. You've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and the cafeteria fund for the period ending January 14th, 2025. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and payment.
Right, and motion to approve those?
Second.
All right, roll call, I'm sorry, questions, comments,
So
concerns?
I only am commenting because I had asked this via email, and so for transparency, these are my questions. I did have questions on employee vendor that happened 3 times in fairly substantial amounts. And found out we were just labeling it differently now for different reasons, and it's actually our online educator. And then also I had a question on weatherproof tech, which was a series of check numbers, and that was for also a fairly substantial amount, and that was for maintenance to all the buildings on the roof. So I emailed them, I'm gonna say 5 questions. That was it.
All right, moving on to roll call then. Mr. Elber,
Yes.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner, Mr. Hausnick.
Yeah.
Ms. McCoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
and Mrs. Overheim.
Yes.
And then, moving on to the business, the auditors just finished up. I received it, shortly before I left today. And, with the audit, and they will be here at the work session to present the audit to the board. Budget preparations are coming along well. The buildings are finishing up their building budgets. Mr. Taramina and I have been discussing some cost savings options and some current concerns, and we're working through those very well. The budget process is moving very smoothly this year. And I have been working on your binders, and you'll be receiving those here coming out at the end of February. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to with the budgets. Time clocks are coming along really well. The pilot group is being trained at the end of the month, and we'll be using the time clock starting February 3rd with just the pilot group. We'll do a full 2-week payroll pilot period, and then we will take the payroll information and test it against our settings and our systems into the financial software and make sure everything has been calculated and set up correctly. And
Can I
then
ask a question? Okay, this is just a listing time.
I was going
It
through
was-
it, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a real question. I wasn't being snarky. So my question is, you're doing this pilot group with the time clocks? Will it just be teachers and secretaries and such, or administration as well that will be using?
It's the hourly employees.
So that's not administration.
It's not teachers, it's the hourly employees.
Okay, I just wanted to
Not
know who
salary.
was using them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause it's not salary.
Yeah, thank you. So where was I here?
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you and get you.
No, that's okay. So, we have a schedule to go live in March. So real estate tax collection has wrapped up. We're working on finalizing that today. It will be sent over to the county later on this week. And, the tax reconciliation will be on the work session agenda for you to approve. So that is wrapped up there. Act 80 has just started coming out, so we will start working on Act 80 information that is tax information from 2023 into making sure it was correctly placed into the right school district. That's the income taxes. The resource management portion of the ASDA administrative review for food service has been completed, which I'm happy. I was happy when I got to read the email because we've been working on that since October. And there were no findings. The district was actually praised for how a donation in 2024 was handled. So they were very happy to see that. The district provided over 50 pages of documentation on how it was handled, along with handwritten notes. So we kept everything really well and did it exactly how they like it to be done. So they were happy. They made some recommendations on how to help us improve our program, especially as now we are a CEP district. So they gave some suggestions that for a good perspective and things to think on as we plan out in the future on some of our things in our cafeteria. So the on-site review will take place next week. So we look forward to that and completing this cycle of reviews for the food service administration. This is an important piece for this because this allows us, especially now that we're CEP, to continue providing free breakfast and free lunch to all students. So it's a big relief once this is done. And Carrie Snyder with the food service has been excellent working through all of this. And so kudos to her. And one last thing, statement of financial interest, please get them back to me as soon as possible. They're not due until May 1st, but the sooner I can check them off the list, it's, you know, the sooner that we can get them all taken care of. So that's all I have this evening.
Great update. Thank you. All right, moving on to the superintendent's report. We will do that by going around the room. New year, Mr. Farrar.
Yeah, it was interesting last Monday. At the end of the day, we have a group of kindergartners that get brought up by fourth graders to wait for the bus. And usually in the day, like by December, they're just, like, I mean, it's a buzz of energy that lasts 10 minutes. They were zombies Monday. So, I think they all got a lot of rest over break, but they're back in full swing. We're, it's good. The kids are getting back into, getting some of those things. So they got that little break, got their batteries recharged, the students and staff, and then doing some mid-year assessments to see where we're at, some mid-year checkpoints and understanding math skills. But kids are, they're excited to be right back. It's funny, after a day of that, you get back on their regular sleep schedule. They're just going right along like normal, so working hard and doing so forth. So in December, lots of, I know I shared a little bit, but a big thank you, like community service groups, like the students you saw, the traders, but a lot of, families and parents and, different agencies and like, the Lions clubs and Kiwanis and so forth, and just citizens in general who want to help make a better holiday season for those who are a little less fortunate. And no doubt, a lot of our kids are benefactors of that, and a lot of kids, I'm sure our kids have to give back to that too. So that was a good part of the holiday season. In general as well, we're starting to gear up. Then of course we're in the spring, we're going to put forward the SSAs for our older students. About it, we're trying to move back in the swing of things. Oh, I will share with federal programs. We got a nice New Year's Eve present. Found out we're gonna be monitored again. Now, the funny thing is, after we did a full-blown monitor night, and last year, I don't know if I ever told you the results, we had one finding, and it was so minor, we didn't put a date on a form. That was it. Otherwise, fiscally, programmatically, how we file things with the state and the federal government, they were very pleased with on my side of things, on the business side of things, and yet they chose to have us go through monitoring again. So it's a lot of work for me and Jess and Brandy and Jason, but get her done for the city just to make them happy.
Mr. Myers. Just to follow up, piggyback off what Mr. Brewer said about our community, our students, our staff. Some of the things that we did in December, shout out again to Mrs. Quick, her family consumer science class. They made 6th grade classes, made some casseroles, and then a local nonprofit each year donated came to the school, and we had several casserole dishes that they distributed. So they were really excited about that. Commend right up, it's in our Facebook page there. Builders Club sent Christmas cards out to Valley View nursing home, so thank you to Builders Club for that. McCall teachers, we had almost $1,000 that we raised for gift cards for local families, so thank you to our teachers for that. And the families in the community of McCall, they donated 1,500 food items for Harvest of Hope. So thank you for that. I'm excited about Thursday. Dana Neely from the Office of the Attorney General is coming to McCall, do a presentation on bullying, cyberbullying, social media, the effect of that. So that will be Thursday for 6th and 8th graders. She's planning on coming back in the spring again to do an evening event. So I'm going to give you some information on that. So we're excited about that. And a shout out, sorry, Mr. House, I want to talk about the junior high girls cheerleading crew. We're talk about the sports, but the junior high cheerleaders, saw them in action in Mount Carmel and at Milton at some events, and they did a really nice job. So kudos to them. Thank you for all the coaches and the great things are happening in the fall. Thank you. Mrs. Watkins.
First of all, I just want to congratulate Jack on the presentation, and what he left out is how many of those kids that you saw in the academic competition actually competed in 2, even 3 of those competitions last week alone. So they are tremendously amazing group of kids. So a couple of things with the high school. We have the talent show the day before Christmas, and that went extremely well. And we followed up the talent show with class competition, and that was really great to see students out. A lot of class pride and competition against each other, kind of going into Christmas break in really good spirits. Coming back from Christmas break, we've had, in addition to all the academics, our cheerleaders won the large varsity division at districts, and they're advancing on the states at the end of the month. Wrestling was at the PPAC individual tournament last weekend, and they overall placed first. And then last night's victory, I'll let Mr. Johnson talk a little more about the basketball game, but that was a beautiful thing. We are getting geared up for scheduling at the high school. Teachers are currently doing the final edits to proposed courses for the year. And then, of course, catalog will be coming to you for approval, hopefully within the next few weeks. One of the issues that developed in schools across the country following and during the pandemic was attendance. And it was a problem for us. So at the high school, he partnered up with Judge Whiteman to come in once a month this year. And, you know, I brought it up before the board. So he was in today. And he had fewer students today that he had to see issue than he did in the previous couple months. And this was the first time we did not have any repeat students on the list to see them because they had improved attendance. And we actually had a celebration for a student because the attendance has improved so much. So it's been really great to work with Judge Whiteman. He just comes in and talks to the kids. It's very informal and has had a great impact. So, yeah, I'll leave the rest of it on.
All right, that's great. Mr. Blaze.
We made it through the holiday season. Couple pumps approved. It was good. It's always nice to see, and I bring some of Thanksgiving, Christmas, but the amount of giving that this community does do, from the parents to the teachers to the students themselves. It really does blow me away. This is the third year in a row. I've been here, third year, so. The amount of giving is unbelievable. It's so nice to see, families when they come pick up, either meals or gifts for their children. To know that they're taken care of. So kudos to everybody in the community for doing that. Means a lot. Santa came, so that was nice. It was snowing on the fire trucks and that was good, so that was nice too. It's just that part of the magic of Christmas, I think. Mr. Farrar said, mid-year assessments are taking place. It is kind of a downtime right now. We don't have any big events or anything like that planned, but February and March and April and May and June are busy, so we're just in the planning process and
All right, thank you. Mr. Nafo. That's good. We only get till 9 o'clock, so we can't go. This is out.
Yeah, a few other things. We had our band and choir concerts for holidays, which was super great. The kids were very talented and united them all. We also had our holiday dance for our students, which went off without a hitch, so that was good and a lot of fun. Exciting and crazy, but I like it.
You can guess it.
We have our PBS Rewards Day this Friday, so kids are getting ready for that. That's a way for us to acknowledge and celebrate students for following the school and being on school on time and taking care of the devices and things. So we have that too. And I feel like, despite the feel of the room today about the phone pouches, I do want to acknowledge and thank all the families and the kids, teachers, staff, everybody who is supportive. And it's a new thing, not, you know, it's always hard to change and new things. But I do feel overall it's been very positive. It's been respectful. Staff has done a ton to help support. We're here to support, and we'll get through this. And I feel like I need to acknowledge the multitude of people who have been very positive about it. So, and I do respect everyone's opinion, but I just feel like everything we acknowledge.
Thank you. Mr. Plant. All right, Mr. Tanner.
So during the fall, I talked a lot about our special education physical monitoring, and that has happened now. And I wanted to thank all of those that were a part of that cyclical monitoring, because I think that overall, we had a very, very successful monitoring this year. And, Mr. Karamina and I met with, Mark Ishman, who's our compliance monitor, for our last day for our exit interview, and he, noted that our teachers are top-notch and that they positively engage our students. He also shared many other things that he felt were really positive, that we have overall our record organization is outstanding. He said that we really have attention to detail with our documentation, and that our IP progress monitoring data, he was impressed that our teachers include the data and also the graphs for that as well. And that our transition planning section was outstanding, and that he was very impressed with the fact that at our high school level, we included the graduation pathway information in each of our IEPs. And he thought that that was something that we should probably share with districts surrounding us, because he was very impressed with that. And we're the only district in this area that does that. So I thank the teachers, because really they're the ones that are doing all the hard work, and they're the ones that are producing all of it. So I really appreciate all the hard work that they've done in making sure that their paperwork is up to snuff, and also that our students are well taken care of. So within the next couple of weeks, we will be receiving the final report from the state, but I just wanted to share that much information with you at this time. Another thing that happened that was a great thing was the My Bike program. Riding Pittsburgh has been working with families and students in our area here for the last 6 years. And on January 7th at Penn College, we had 3 of our students that were presented with adapted bikes and adapted strollers. Our students and families were very, very happy to be receiving this new equipment, and it really helps to make those folks' lives even much better as a result of that. So I wanted to share that information with the board. On January 8th, we had 4 of our paraprofessionals go to the IU for a paraprofessional highly qualified training. And that involves not only the training portion of that, but then they also have to take an assessment at the end of that to then be able to continue as paraprofessionals, and all of our paraprofessionals did very well there as well. And the last thing that I wanted to share was we are preparing for our early intervention transition meeting. These are our meetings where we pull students and parents together, and we talk about what those students have done in early intervention and how they are going to be able to successfully transition to school-age service. So we have tentatively scheduled those early intervention meetings for February 12th and 13th. They'll be happening at the district office. And we have at this time 17 students that are transitioning into our district, which is a fairly large number of students transitioning. So we'll be looking forward to having those meetings and getting to know those students and families and helping that transition to be very smooth to schooling services.
I'm
That's all I have.
I'm putting a footnote on his, as one of our students actually made the front page of the paper, Ollie,
Yes.
that got that, so I did have to put the footnote in.
Yeah, thank you.
Didn't feel old.
No, I had to get that part of.
So as a father of a child who received a bike, not from here, but years ago when he was significantly smaller than he is now. The impact that had on him, because he couldn't ride a traditional bike. So getting that and seeing his face light up so he could ride alongside his brother and sister, it's fantastic. So I know exactly how those parents feel, tearing up thinking about it. It's fantastic. I love that you guys do that. So thank you for that update. It's great. Need a minute? All right, I'm good. Johnson.
Kind of finishing up and piggybacking off of both what Jack and Susan said. You know, again, from cheerleading winning to varsity winning districts, the game last night against Bullock was tense. And it was a close one, it was nail biter, and thankfully our rambunctious student section didn't hurt us too much there at the end. At the end, they were overly excited. So deal with that, but it was a great game, and I'm sure I get to talk about it because that's where I came from before I was there.
Oh, that's
cheering our kids on, so it was really good to see. It was definitely a good victory, and
well
I went home and bragged at home to all my little soccer and so I slept on the couch. FFA last week was supposed to go on Monday down to the farm and show, but Harrisburg and the weather decided that was not an option. As they were under weather advisory as well, so that was moved to Friday. 40 students attended that with Mr. Phillips and went down, and the members were receiving their jackets. They didn't have the official ceremony because of that, but they're working through all of that piece. We just hosted district orchestra last Friday. Carson Bohemus was our first woodwind. It flew to qualify for district orchestra in years. There was a report he had an almost perfect score, and then went on to qualify for regional orchestra, scoring over 50 points higher than the runner-up. Crushing it. Kendall Sims also qualified for district orchestra on the violin. It was a great concert. In addition to that, Ali Raver will be performing. She was selected to perform in the 2025. I'm going to try and say this, Eastern Division All Eastern Treble Choir Honor Ensemble. In April in Connecticut. So that's a pretty big honor for her to be able to do and perform there. And you know, I do respect, you know, any of our students that come up and want to speak, that takes some guidance and courage. Especially if they, you know, if they're selecting something or speaking either for or against something that has opposition to. So I do applaud our students for coming out with something in mind, regardless of where we land in the continuum of how we feel about that. And I echo what Ron said as well about, you know, we do have an overwhelmingly large amount of people who are supportive and who are kind of adhering to that. Our issues have been relatively minimal in high school, thankfully. With that, we get to greet kids at the end of the day, a couple of spots where we help unlock in some areas, and even feedback from those students have been very positive. They've said that I don't necessarily that I'm not fine with it, and they like checking their stuff every day. So, but that's them. You know, there are some that struggle with it more than others, but overall, it's been pretty well. And the issues we've had haven't been repeat issues. So we're navigating that as we do, and it'll be interesting to see how this goes in the long run, and where we land, you know, down the road with this and what becomes the new norm. And as we reinforce the expectations that were already there, but you know, sometimes they're really a little bit of a hard nudge to get everybody on board with things. So that's kind of that piece. And yeah, that's all I have for now.
Great, thank you.
For the high school, I want to share with you that Mrs. Giston in the Bill Ensemble, one of the community groups I'm in charge of, I commandeered her a year ago to reserve them, and I tell you, they came and performed for us at our December meeting, and for the members and their spouses and so forth. And this is a tradition we have. And hey, I mean, I've seen these kids perform, but I stood in the back, and of course, the resounding answer I got from her was like, wow, like how talented. And so it is neat to see the athletic, academics, and the arts, you know, just look hardworking and talented kids we have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
There's a reason I picked those 3 words to put on the main hallway of the high school. Just about the music, being a best community in music education is starting to produce just even bigger results for us. We were named in 2017 and have been on that list every year since consecutively. And what we're now seeing is student musicians qualifying for district orchestra, which was not within our reach in the past. And when they get to the levels of all Eastern and that's what most of the ending point is, that's phenomenal. That is talent. That is talent that we've harnessed and continued to grow as a district. So those kind of things are important. Those recognitions are important, and those are things we strive for. We are a school. You presented the academic side. We hear the arts side, and of course, we all know about the athletic side. So it takes all 3 things to make us the district we are, and it's not like other districts. We got impressive programming here, in spite of sometimes what you hear or see on Facebook and other social media. So kudos to everyone. I will add that with that said, our profession is in trouble. When I look at, I had pulled some data and I looked at administrative certificates back in 10-11. There were 1,113 of them. In last year, there were 542. Teaching certificates overall in 2010-2011, there were 21,045. Last year, they issued 7,503. And last year in the sciences, Biology had 73 total certificates issued across this Commonwealth. Chemistry had 17. Physics had 9, and we have a physics teacher approaching retirement. And tech ed, which we have a whole building dedicated to, had 8. So our profession has some problems, and the state has tried to answer that with the student teacher support program. Mr. Callahan brought that up. Often we do have a student teacher in the spring that won the lottery and is getting $10,000 to student teach. That cooperating teacher will also receive $2,500. But that's one of about, I think we have 5 student teachers coming in. The pot of money was not enough. FIA has been a disaster in implementing it. Has not been a pleasant experience. We're going a different direction in the district. I've read and researched Grow Your Own Teacher programs, and that is coming here next year. We are partnering with Lycoming College. It's going to look a lot like Geisinger program where kids go out. But the good news here is they're going to go out to our schools, middle school and elementary schools, to actually do their observation hours. There's going to be a full course. It's actually like Cummings Intro to Ed course that we get to teach in our building with our teacher, and it becomes dual enrollment. We've been working on this for years with Lycoming. I truly appreciate their efforts in bending to allow us to do this. The capstone of the whole thing, and I feel this is going to be the hook for kids. They get to teach, and they get to teach kids in our buildings. Their capstone is going to be a few lessons in front of a live class. And that is I hope the start of our recruiting efforts to build this back up, because our profession is in trouble. And I believe in public ed. We're under attack from all levels, including the private systems and private systems such as CCA, which has absolutely no accountability in this state. Absolutely none. And they're sitting on billions of dollars, $1 billion that goes out of local districts to them with no accountability. We are competitive again with them. We pulled kids back. Unfortunately, as you heard tonight, some are leaving. But we've got to be competitive, and we do it with these experiences. Grow Your Own Teacher is one of them. Geisinger is another, and we need to expand those. They can't offer that. I promise you, they cannot offer that experience. So I'm excited about it. As you saw in my email, I'm hoping to teach some of that if that's okay with the board. It's not addressed in my contract, but 45 minutes here and there to go teach what I hope are our future teachers is something I'm really excited about. So that's coming. I want to remind everybody, January 21st is the public hearing on the elementary school closure. That is 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. And this group, admin group, not elementary so much because they haven't had to deal with it. Middle school, high school admin team, and Mr. Hanner with some of the special ed requests. They have worn this well. These pouches have not been easy to implement, and they have been absolutely fantastic in their effort to get this done. They've been positive through it. They've been beat up through it, but their spirit and knowing the goal of cell phone free schools. The goal isn't a pouch. The goal is a cell phone free school. The pouch gets us there. They've been spot on, laser focused, and the implementation was better than I could have expected. We've been talking about it since July 9th. Is when it was brought up. And we have taken our time. We have listened to feedback. We have listened to the public. We have pivoted. We have made changes. And Paul, if you're not getting, they'll get a message to your kid. I promise. The backpack thing we've talked about. I have a feeling we're going to have more conversations on backpacks and carrying those pouches around. So we're not done. The situation is fluid. But the ultimate goal, which the team has stayed course, is cell phone free. I hope to never spend another dime on pouches. This is to get us over that initial shock of the cell phone. what board members received in some emails or things we dealt with when we tried to implement in the past. You touch my phone, I pay for that. That's none of your business, is a lot of what we used to get. So I want to thank this board for taking the bold step and being the first in the area. I never like being on the bleeding edge, but here we are. I thank them for taking the bold step. I know when it came up, it wasn't on my radar. I sunk in my seat, knowing what may have been coming, but after reading much research and seeing the tremendous benefits in the goals that we should have in our classrooms and schools, I thank this board for taking that step. And I am proud to lead us into this venture. And I am happy to have the folks beside me leading that charge. So much appreciated to all of you for taking that bold step. And we are already seeing results, which is what we want. So a little long-winded for me. I know my report's a little bit shorter, but I think that's important. And the final thing is we had an exec session dealing with real estate matters, a personnel matter, and then an informational session following that prior to this meeting.
I was just gonna say that because I forgot we did it at the beginning. I remember.
Got lots of reminders.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, thank you very much. And I think the board can piggyback from what Mr. T said. I know that was our decision, but you guys took the load of that, of dealing it and implementing it and following through that. And so we're very thankful that you guys did dig in your heels and helped us kind of with our vision moving forward. So thank you so much for that. All right, moving on to the general agenda items. I would like to, if you're okay with that, we'll combine 7.1 through 7.8 for time constraints. And of course, we can pull out and discuss any one of those. You want to vote on that separately or just because we can do?
Can we discuss?
We can do
I
it
don't have
first.
to
We'll
pull
do
it out,
first,
just-
second, then have a discussion on it and then do vote
Okay.
on all of them. Is that okay?
That's-
Okay, that'd be the calendar. Yeah, we did.
Possibly,
We knew that one.
that could be the calendar.
All right, so if everyone is okay with combining, I'll take a motion
Every
to
year,
approve.
next motion to approve.
All right, any comments?
Look, I have a whole paper and everything.
On 7.
7.4, the calendar. So I know I'm not gonna win this one, but I will say it again. And every year until I'm off the board. Can we please start after Labor Day? So I didn't go through the whole like how to make it work. At some point, I would love to start after Labor Day, but I'm going to, there's been a lot of change this year. I'm gonna fall the sword on that one. But the one,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I will say, I said this in discussion, so I will say it in public because that's just the person. The one thing that in going future is looking at the days, how many per day weeks we have. And we're in 41 weeks. I don't even count that little 2-day blip in the beginning. We have 12 4-day weeks, 2 2-day weeks, 2 3-day weeks, and 24 5-day weeks. So in that, my one suggestion was to take the February 9th Act 80 day and move that to one of our snow days of March 13th and add that snow day to March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, but yeah. And move that snow day to the 17th, just because when we're coming back, it's the kids are just gonna swing at things and all of a sudden, hey, it's MLK Day, right? So, I mean, they're all happy, but then you have a 4-day week, then you have 2 full days, then you have a 4-day week, a 4-day week, and just, it's really just, I mean, it's bad enough that they already have those 2 in January and February. We could just put it in there. We may have to use the snow days, so you put the Act 80 on the 13th, that still gives them like that long, but it's more even like spring break, but moving it doesn't have to be the 13th. I also looked at plopping it in at, Easter. Cause you have one at the beginning, stick an Act 80 on the 2nd and an Act 80 on the 7th of April. And so then that's a long Easter vacation. But it's just rather than have these constant short weeks.
Yep.
Just try to limit that, and where you're already having a break, either extend it by a day or because they're already out of whack anyway at the 3-day, and moving that around. I just feel like the consistency of having just constant 5-day weeks just works a little bit better than having all these little 4-day weeks where they get, so it's sort of like when they come back at Christmas, you give them 3 days and they're completely out of whack on their sleeping. At least in my house.
So I will say you gave an interesting perspective. I've never looked at a calendar like that. I prefer the 5 days, 5-day weeks.
What are the benefits just for the public, that you were seeing?
Of the 5-day,
Uh-huh.
well, it's school. It makes it more consistent. You eliminate those, I don't know,
That's-
micro breaks.
Right, that's
so
why I
to speak.
don't like the whole Labor Day thing.
And I know.
Cause I don't like they go 2 days and then they're like, oh, we're off. And then they go 4 days.
That's the
And then they
beginning.
go
We're
for-
easing them in from summer.
Listen, you are not easing those kids in. That is like completely screwing them up. They literally are like, why am I going back for 2 days when I could have this whole week off? When it's nice and sunny out, and then you get a long weekend for Labor Day and they're like, it's like a torture chamber.
I can tell you though, on a different, like on a young end of elementary though, in 27 years, it's
Yep.
it's been better. It really has, because it's a different animal you know about. It just really is. I've seen
Right.
just in my perspective. of watching.
Yeah, I even as the elementary kids, I probably hated it more as elementary than.
Yours are probably the few, I will say,
Yeah.
this overall as a general observation.
It's not great for childcare. There are some issues with
But there's
it.
a lot. Yeah, I was gonna say as a parental
that's-
unit.
That's another reason
as-
to get these short 4 days, then people are searching for childcare on that fifth.
Yep.
It's
Um,
good to hear the reasons.
we know we're getting, some kids need 5 days of meals here. They
Yeah.
need 5 days of heat,
Mhm.
in our buildings here. There are some families, that need us 5 days. A week, so, and it's more consistent on the education side of things as well.
Yeah.
Good thought, Sharon. Good thought.
Listen,
Mhm.
at some point I'll get all of it together. Baby steps on the
I
calendar.
guess I won't be around.
I told you I have a list. I've only done a few.
We need to share that, because we might. be
No,
a handful
I like
of
to
them
keep
happen.
you, I like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah. You and a whole lot of other people.
Start it in the
I
middle of
like
the
to
year.
ease it in, right? I like wait for things. So like cell phone, I didn't do until we were done with budget. I was like, oh, we can't do that.
Oh,
Cell
so
phone in the
I can
middle of
expect
budget,
something
which
after
is
this budget.
maybe. You got 360, I did 360, we did budget, then cell phone. So only big things happen like, after we get through other
Okay.
big things.
Make the budget last long.
I'm giving her budget books, so.
Right. Oh, yeah, I did do something on budget. I got binders for
That's
it.
gonna open up even more, so.
And 7.4 is first reading, so it could still go and we can make those
Changes for
changes
second.
and have those ready for second reading, just as a reminder to everybody. Yep. Thank you.
All right, anything else in 7.1 through 7.8? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, great. Personnel section, again, we'll combine 8.1 through 8.5.
The person is filling the physics position. Are they?
You have to
You have to get
Motion first.
motion to,
Motion to approve.
I know it's your first meeting, but we'll get you there.
Oh, it doesn't
Second.
matter if it's my
Have a
10.
first.
Okay, First and second.
Second.
Now you can.
It's gonna take years of training. So now go.
Yep, they were first and second, so now we can talk about.
So for the physics teacher, and is that just to fill it for till the end of the year? Because you had mentioned earlier something about a physics teacher retiring.
We have one that could.
Oh, okay. You mentioned it
getting
earlier,
close.
so I
No,
thought
this
that
is-
that was
this one's
okay.
just
too.
Till February 7th.
I just think that's just a short, it's just a 16th of the, yeah, it's short term.
This is short. But there's always a potential of we're getting near retirement.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of them out there, as you
Yeah.
were saying earlier. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Anything else, 8-1 through 8-5? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You absolutely may. I was gonna ask that question.
Just wanna, kudos to Mathies, he's retiring after 26 years with us. Tremendous dedicated employee. He's put up with me for the last 12 years, and has been key to the audience. So, you're thick and thin, there's a lot of difficult times, you're always in the office, you need somebody there that she can really bless her job day in, day out. So, kudos to her. She's a very hard working employee, and best of luck in the future, health and prosperity with food and so congratulations.
You said 26?
26.
That's amazing. That's great.
You're not here to oppose it.
Can I get just a minute? Well, thank you for being here, Keith. I appreciate that.
That as well.
That's awesome. All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Myers. All right, number 9, finances, acknowledgement of the following high school student activity advisors and officers for the 2024-2025 school year. Take a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, committee reports. My wingman is not here today, so I will drive us through this one. PSBA, Mrs. Oberheim.
So President Biden's Title IX rewrite that would have allowed men and women's sports locker rooms and bathrooms has again been shot down nationwide by a federal court. 26 states sued to stop the regulations from becoming law, and in August, the Supreme Court granted the 26 states a temporary stay. On July 9th, 25, a federal court has blocked the rewrite of Title IX, and it is now vacated nationwide.
Can I make a comment? Did we do anything with policy? We did not.
We held
Okay,
because
I
I
know
figured
that
this was
you
the
were
direction.
okay, because at IU were having to go backwards, so that was one thing I wanted to double check on, I can't
We-
remember.
We did a few that removed Title IX from the policies, and I can't remember.
Yeah, that's why, because I.
There were 3 we did, but the main Title IX ones we did not touch
Okay.
because I saw this
Coming.
kind of coming.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
didn't
thought.
make
I thought
sense.
that
Made it
was the
easier.
discussion we had.
Because
but-
now they're gonna be a bunch of districts undoing
Yeah.
what they did.
All right, policy committee, Mrs. McCoy.
I don't have anything to report.
All right. IU, Mrs. Meyer.
The bikes, so we didn't have any in December, so.
LCTC, Mr. Eisenhower.
Nothing to report.
Memorial Gardens, Mr. Hausnick.
Nothing
at this time.
Can we go back to like a CTC?
We certainly can.
We will be having a discussion at the work session on the borrowing for that project. I had requested numbers from Lyco CTC about paying that up front since we have some money in the capital projects fund. It saves us some money and it puts us in control of our money and not somebody else in our pocket. So it gets us paid and done. We're still exploring that and talking about it, but we will have more information for you at the work session. Present you some options there. I'd rather be in charge of our books than
I like that.
than
idea.
someone else,
Yeah,
but
I
we
do
still
too.
we have to look through.
Mhm.
I'm not good at the money stuff, but I know someone that is and she'll help us do
You're
that.
the idea man. She runs it.
Don't know that That's always
You're
good.
like,
I
can we do this? Figure it out.
think that's kind of what it was.
Like, Brandy, I got a great idea. She's like, no, you don't.
I've
I don't
heard
have any
that
money.
quite a few times.
All right, you said nothing.
It works.
House check for Memorial Gardens, correct?
No.
All right, budget, Mrs. Meyer.
No, it's
Right.
coming.
It's.
We have binders.
Yes, we do.
Just like
I'm very excited.
Montoursville Foundation, Mr. Young's not here. Mr. T, I don't know if you have an update.
Yeah, we had a meeting on the 13th. They approved 2 grants, one for mock trial and one for Spanish classroom resources. They are moving forward with the fundraising event. Their first choice was March 21st. The second is April 4th. It will be at New Trail. It's a smaller event, more accessible to more people, so we hope folks come out to that. They are going to participate and raise the region again. They're making care packages for elementary schools, and they're also providing the science fair gift cards as prizes this year. I think they've done that in the past as well, so. And then they have a question for you. Remind me tomorrow, Sebastian. Their next meeting is February 3rd.
We can raise the region. Don't forget later BP on it. We qualify for that.
By buildings and grounds, Mr. L.
Yeah, we had our 4 meetings on the possibility of closing down the valley, and I guess there was roughly 65 people at all 4 meetings. There might have been a few repeats there, but I just think it's important to stress that based off of what the 4 meetings brought to us, you know, that we need to make sure that we in moving forward, whatever decision we do make, is that we the biggest thing I saw out of it was that we got to make sure that our classroom sizes maintain. I saw a lot of different people talk about the 4th grade and the concern for that. So, you know, I think that it's important that in whatever decision we make moving forward, that we make sure we accommodate those areas.
So, thank you. Extracurricular, Mr. Hassanek.
Okay, even though some of my thunder was stolen.
Can't have it all.
I had the cheerleaders down too. They did great. We'll start with the junior high girls basketball. Their season's over. The 7th graders finished 12-0. The 8th graders finished 7-8. And like I said, last year as 7th graders, they only won 1 game. So that was a big improvement. The JV girls are 4-5. The varsity girls are 4-8. They're at Milton tonight. Overall, they're a young team. As far as wrestling goes, junior high wrestlers are 10-4. They came in 2nd at the PSAC duels with a 4-1 record. They came in 3rd at the Jersey Shore duels with a 3-2 record. In JVs, a lot of times they don't have a lot of matches. They just have extra matches. So there's not a lot of wins and losses there. The varsity wrestling team, on top of winning the PSAC individual tournament championship this past weekend, which that was every school in the PSAC conference. The big schools, little schools. We had 3 first place winners, 3 second place winners. Prior to that, they won the PSAC Division II Duels Championship when they went 5-0 a couple weeks prior to that. And prior to that, they won the King of the Mountain Wrestling Tournament. They're ranked about 6th in the state right now. Problem is you have 2 or 3 private schools that recruit everybody ahead of them. So it'll be a tough road, but they're phenomenal. Junior high boys basketball, they're all at Hughesville tonight. The 7th graders are 3-1, 8th graders 2-2, the 9th graders 2-1. The JV boys are 8-2. The varsity boys went to 8-6 last night with a huge win over Loyalsock. The first one in I don't know how many years, many years. And what Matt wasn't telling you was is at one point we had a 20-point lead. And then all of a sudden it was a 2-point lead. So it was hectic in there.
Came out strong and then they rallied, but.
And it was a great high school event.
70-64, I think.
Yep. Great high school event, so they're all doing pretty well.
All right, great update. Thank you very much. Safety and security, Mr. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. So I have followed cheerleading very closely for the last 8 years. This is the first year I have not had a child in cheerleading. So I feel like this is the first year I can really come out and say something. So I just want to say there's 29 girls involved in our cheerleading program. We have 19 varsity, 10 junior high, amazing girls. This year they fundraised approximately $32,000 since they did tryouts last March. What that has gotten them is to cheer camps, to having clinics, to having people here for camps to teach them things. It is taking them to nationals, and they won districts this weekend, which I was very excited. I was disappointed I couldn't be there. I had to be at a swim competition instead. So they are going to NCAA nationals in Texas. They are going to be there January 24th through January 27th. Hurry up, get a flight back. And then they are headed to states on the 30th. They don't know what their performance time yet is on the 30th. So, but one of the biggest things I wanted to share, and it goes along with a lot of what all of you said about a lot of our students tonight, is they are a finalist for Go Be Great at Nationals. What Go Be Great is, it talks about cheerleaders that go above and beyond in their community. And listening to all of you comment tonight, what did we talk about tonight? We talked about all of our students going above and beyond. So this really reflects our community, because it's not one group, it's all of our kids. It's all of our families, it's our community, which shows how great and how fortunate we are. So in 2023, they were one of the top 10 finalists, and they were one of the 3 that won it. They're one of the top 10 finalists again this year. And I'm hoping, I have my fingers crossed, because I believe in what these girls are doing. They raised $32,000 to do all this stuff they've done, but $2,537 of that was donated to Gold Out, 948 of that was donated to Pink Out, the girls volunteer coach, the youth cheerleading, and I'm sure there's other things I'm missing that they do, because I'm not as involved in it as I used to be. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to them and their coaches and our community, because as we all said tonight about all the giving back that we all do, well, not us, but the students and our community, I think that's very important to recognize, that all of our kids are doing this, and it's something to be very proud of. So that's all I had. Sorry.
No, that's fantastic. All right, Mr. Young isn't here for safety and security. Mr. Eisner, I'm not sure if you have anything or.
Nothing to report.
And wellness.
Don't have anything tonight.
That concludes that portion. We'll go to the final public comments portion of the evening. Many people in here left, but again, this is for taxpayers, 3 unpaused time. Minutes, 3 unpaused minutes. Mr. Schaeffer, you want to get back up there?
I did have something to say, but not thinking back.
Please, come on up.
Sorry. I just wanted to piggyback off what Brandy said. What Brandy may not have known about the cheerleaders, varsity cheerleaders, is they put together the routines for the Pee Wee girls cheerleaders for their Heartland cheerleading event. 2 of the 3 squads that they put their time and effort into actually placed in that. So out of all of the schools in the Heartland organization, Mr. Hausnick might know how many there are. I don't know. The B squad got second place and the A squad got first place. But I will also say from my daughter, who is a B varsity or B cheerleader, the relationships that those girls have put into those little girls is amazing to see. It is really a testament to the coaches at that level, the parents of the girls at that level, and the girls themselves. But they're building and they're pouring into the little girls too. And I do love to see that. So nothing bad. Just wanted to point that out as well.
Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.
And when you take the academic things, just think of the mentoring. For years, I think you heard of the PennDOT project with Kira and the Key Club too. I know you take the psychology classes, do the different things with audit, they come down to later and they work with kids at different grade levels and some of those kids have no desire to ever be a teacher themselves, but they like to be a good man.
Yeah.
So it's something that goes on throughout the year at different levels and different ways. So it's just great.
Yeah, this district is pretty amazing, that's for sure. All right, seeing no one else in the room, we'll go to Zoom. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing no hands raised, that concludes the public comment portion, and we will move to adjournment. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourn.
That was for a second. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Mr.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.